Hi, my name is Jace Tunnell with the Mission-Aransas National Estuarine Research Reserve in Port Aransas, Texas at the University of Texas Marine Science Institute. And I don't know how familiar y'all are with the reserve system, but there's actually 29 estuarine research reserves around the country, including Alaska, Puerto Rico, and what's unique about the reserve system is that we all use the same methodologies and the same equipment. So you can compare what we're doing at Mission-Aransas Reserve to any of the other reserves around the country. And so we manage 186,000 acres. We get our name from the Mission and Aransas rivers that flow into the bay systems that we're managing. And we have 4 different sectors. Like all the other reserves, there's 4 different sectors that we have to be able to do our work in, and that includes research, education, stewardship, and then we have a training program. And so within those 4 sectors, there's different projects that we have. And so with research, one of the main ones that we have is water quality. And so we have these system-wide monitoring programs that we call them SWAMP for short. But those allow us to have 4 different, or all reserves are required to have 4 different monitoring stations within their bay systems in the water that are collecting water continuously. And so we collect things like temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, and then we have a couple of other parameters that we collect like nutrients and plankton. And so over time we can be able to see those changes. And what's really cool about that too is other institutions can come in and say they want to do work within the bays on fisheries or currents or something like that. Well, they have that water quality data there as a baseline for their work. And then we also have resource managers and things like that, like the Parks and Wildlife system. They can come in and look at that. We have weather stations on some of the sites, so they people can go out before they're going fishing. They want to say, what's the weather like out there? What's the water quality? You know, it might help make their decision better. We also have an education team, and so we reach thousands of students a year and teaching them about estuaries. We also have programs called Teaching on the Estuary in the summertime, where we bring teachers in and then teach them hands-on different field techniques and things like that then they can take back into their classrooms and teach their students. And then we have a training program. So with the reserve, we do applied science. And so we're able to go out, gather data, and then take that information and make it into something that people can relate to and make it management decisions with it. And so we host trainings and workshops from our science to the managers. And then stewardship, and so that's where we have like citizen science projects to be able to get the community involved in going out and collecting data. We also have the animal rehabilitation keep that we have where we rehab sea turtles and birds. And so that's all within the stewardship, and working with landowners is another component of that. So some of the specific projects we have, one of the ones is the water quality that I told you about, and so there's a lot of research that it goes along with that one. But then we also have this one that the stewardship sector coordinates, and that is surface elevation tables. And so they're considered a sentinel site where they're looking at long-term data, collecting data on how the marsh is changing over time. And so we look at sea level rise, we look at accretion and erosion rates of sediments coming into the marsh. And that is really helpful in looking at how species are changing over time in a system. And so especially here we have the whooping cranes. I don't know if you've ever heard of the whooping crane, but it's a big bird that comes down from Canada once a year between October and April. And they like specific areas to feed in. Well, they don't like black mangroves, which is an invasive species that's been moving up because of the warming temperatures. And so we're able to look and see how the marshes are changing and how that might impact the whooping cranes. let's see, another project we have is Nurdle Patrol, and so that's where citizen scientists go out and they go to the beach or along a river or something like that, and they look at the high tide line and they look for these little plastic pellets. They're about the size of a lentil, and these are pre-production plastic, so it's plastic that hasn't even been melted down and made into anything yet. But they're getting out at the manufacturing side or along transportation to where they're going to their final destination. Somehow they get out, they get into the storm water, then they get out onto the beaches, and we're trying to figure out where they're coming from. So people go out for 10 minutes at a time, count how many pellets they find, then they go to nurdlepatrol.org, they put in their data, and that helps us to be able to track that. But those are some of the things we're working on. If you'd like to know more information about Mission-Aransas and the work that we're doing, you can go to Mission-Aransas.org. All my contact information's in there. My name's Jace Tunnell, like I said, so you can look up my email address is on there. Feel free to send me an email if you have any more questions.